Welcome back to Ethically. Kaushik here. Thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the essentials of joint fitness, flexibility, or mobility. First of all, we need to clarify what we are talking about when we're talking about these three items. They're not the same and not necessarily talking about the same object. One is about the muscles, one is about the joints or bones. Flexibility has a lot to do with muscles. Although there is some new information about where the primary control of it is, which is in the cerebellum, and it is connected to vision, which you can learn about more in Huberman Lab podcast number 20. Joint fitness has a lot to do with flexibility and mobility, but also with strength, which is the force production capability of your muscles. When we think of joint fitness, we usually think of training for older people who have osteopathologies or are at risk of osteopathology such as osteoporosis or osteoarthritis. But it is equally, if not more important, for athletes also, and for athletes who are in it for the long run. Joint fitness is dependent on a bunch of factors which dictate how fit our joints are and how capable they are. They can be divided into two categories: factors that are not in our control and factors that are in our control. In the list of factors that are not in our control, genetics will play a role in the spatial positioning of our joints. Childhood play or physical activity will dictate how well developed our joints are. Injury history, sex, hormonal status of hormones such as vitamin D and parathyroid hormone will also play a role. These are not in our factors, and these are cards that we are dealt with, which we'll have to deal with in our lives. But what you do with these factors is what is in your control, and we will talk about those things because that is what is practical. But before we move on to the factors that are in our control, we need to first define what joint fitness is. Joint fitness is the ability of a joint to execute a full range of movement without any pain at or near the joint, and while also not allowing for compensations through other joints or musculature present in other parts of the body. To be able to understand this, we need to look at the body as a connected chain and not as individual components. Dr. Aaron Horschig writes in his book, The Squat Bible, about this thing called joint by joint concept, which was actually developed by movement specialist Greg Cook and strength coach Mike Boyle. There are 6 major joints in our body that are practically useful for anyone who is physically training. There are 6 major joints in our body. They are the ankle joint, knee joint, hip joint, shoulder joint, elbow joint, and wrist joint. These are different types of joints, and depending on what type of joint they are capable of different types of movements. So the ankle, knee, and elbow are hinge joints. So they can only move in 2 dimensions. So they can either flex or they can extend. They can't do rotational work. But in the case of ball and socket joints like the hip, shoulder, and wrist, they are capable of 3-dimensional movement. They are not only capable of doing flexion and extension, but they can also do abduction and adduction. So when we take a look at the wrist, so this will be flexion, this will be extension, this will be abduction away from your body, adduction is towards your body. So the wrist is capable of doing all these movements. Similar is the case with the shoulder and the hip joints. So now we can tie these major joints to the joint by joint concept, which will incorporate not just the joints but also other positions in the body that provide for stability and mobility. So this is where factors in our control comes into play. So foot stability allows for good ankle mobility. Good ankle mobility combined with good hip mobility allows for decent knee stability. Hip mobility combined with lumbar spine stability allows for good thoracic spine mobility. Thoracic spine mobility allows for scapular stability, which allows for shoulder mobility. This is talking mainly about A, B, C, and D, but it doesn't talk about E and F, which are elbow and wrist. This is because we're upright and because most of our movements, athletic movements, are from an upright position. They are primarily targeted at the lower appendages in the joint by joint concept and not the upper appendages. The lower appendages are the knees and the legs, and the upper appendages are the elbows and the wrists. The arm is the appendage, and the joints in the arm are elbows and wrists. Those 2 joints are not necessarily considered in the joint by joint concept because most of these Athletic movements depend on ground reaction forces through the legs up to the shoulder. And these joints primarily are force expressing outlets. Think of a overhead press or a bench press where you're moving the bar away from the body. But force expressing outlet is not the only way in which the elbows and wrists are used. But they're also used in open chain exercises where the leg is not in contact with the ground. In exercises such as pull-ups or chin-ups, where the stability of the elbow allows for expression of full mobility at the wrists. A striking example of the joint-by-joint concept is as follows. A client complaining of knee pain due to inflammation may not necessarily have issues at the knee. It could be because of mobility restriction either at the ankle or at the hips, or it could be both. If there are no serious injuries to the meniscus, ligament or tendons in the knee area, and the client is able to walk pain-free, it could most possibly be that these two joints needs to be looked at. I mean, the ankle, the mobility of the ankle and mobility of the hip needs to be looked at. If those issues are resolved, that is mobility restrictions that may be caused due to tightness in the musculature or weakness in the surrounding musculature, then the causative agents of the pain could be resolved. Why flexibility, mobility, and adjoining muscle strength are important for joint fitness? These three, flexibility, mobility, and strength, are interdependent. Flexibility at the muscle and to a certain degree on the surrounding tendons allows for expression of good mobility of that joint. Good mobility of the joint allows for good flexibility because the muscle undergoes enough full range of movement or full range of stretching of that muscle. Also, full mobility or great good mobility allows for better loading on the muscle at different degrees, which allows for building better strength of the muscles. Better strength of the muscle allows for normal mechanics of a particular movement and eliminates any compensations at other joints or by other musculature in the body, which may cause injuries at a later point in time. Hence, one needs to program these three things into one's training program as one's training age or the chronological age increases. This is adequately programmed by a trainer who looks at training from the joint-by-joint concept and ensures injury prevention or reduces the likelihood of injury of their client, thus increasing the training longevity for their client. There are three key takeaways from this video. Joint fitness is a combination of flexibility and strength of the adjoining musculature of a joint, which allows for better mobility of that joint. Joint-by-joint concept is a concept which looks at the body as a single chain instead of individual components. There are factors in your control and there are factors that are not in your control. The factors that are in your control are these 8: foot stability, ankle mobility, knee stability, hip mobility, lumbar spine stability, thoracic spine mobility, scapular stability, shoulder mobility. Hence, you need to first realize where your issues are, whether there is stability or mobility issues in any of these places, and depending on what you find through different tests that are available, you then write down exercises that allow you to correct these imbalances, either in the form of stability imbalances or mobility restrictions, and that needs to be programmed into your training program. I hope this video was helpful to you. Let me know if it did in the comment section below. We'll talk about the essentials of training for general fitness in the next video, which will be posted next Sunday. Like and share the video, subscribe and hit the notifications button to receive a notification when I post the next video. If you would like to get a personalized training and/or a nutrition program, message me on WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, or email me, for which appropriate links are provided down in the description. I will see you all soon. Keep making those gains.